What is up, you guys, and welcome back to Brittany Automotive. So I recently posted a wiring video on my TikTok, and I had mentioned something about wiring your ECU directly to the battery, and it raised a bunch of questions, a few arguments. In conclusion, I got a bunch of messages with requests to just do a powers and grounds video because that is one of the #1 basic things to do with wiring, but it's extremely important. So I'm gonna show you exactly how I would power and ground a race car, as well as showing you what I did on the Ugly Stepchild. And fun fact, before I ever even changed the oil in this car, I ran my powers and grounds. Something I wanna share before I start this video. This aluminum box changes a lot of how I wired my car that I probably wouldn't have done if it did not exist. These boxes make it extremely difficult to get wires through, and I actually have a bulkhead that runs off the side to run all of my grounds off of, and it's not my favorite method, but it works. Okay, so as I mentioned before, that is the bulkhead that runs all of my grounds off of it. This is the main ground that goes straight to the battery. Off of this, I have this wire that mounts to the frame up underneath the car, and then these two actually run back behind the aluminum box and up to the front of the car. So I run all but one of my powers up in the car, so they go underneath the carpet here. And then as you can see, I have this bulkhead and this bulkhead. This bulkhead runs all of my basically dirty electrical in here, so like fans and whatnot. And then this bulkhead runs through the firewall and grounds up underneath. So that bulkhead runs to this corner, and it has a ground to what would be on my starter, and then a ground that goes to the block. This is my power to my alternator. And then from there, I actually have another ground that runs off the opposite side of the block and to the frame. Now, when running your grounds, one of the best places to run them is to the frame of your car. And I say this because the frame of your car is going to absorb the most amount of kickback that the entire car can, which is ideal for a ground. Now, there's a philosophy, the more grounds, the better. You can fill your entire car with grounds. Sooner or later, it just gets messy. So I go with what's necessary and what is beneficial to what I am doing. Now, one thing that I do want to mention that seems to get a lot of people is how you actually mount your grounds. Now, here's one of my grounds, and as you can see, the paint is rubbed away here, and that is because you need to have bare metal for your ground to actually do anything. If I didn't rub away this paint at all, that would be a non-functioning ground, and it would do absolutely nothing for you. Now, one ground that I did not mention that is not on that bulkhead, it runs off the battery itself, is this one. And as you can see, there's also a power that runs out of that same thing. Those are directly to the ECU. And there's a lot of debate about this. There is a lot of different methods to this, but I follow exactly what Holly and Devin Vanderhoof say on this. Always power and ground your ECU directly to your battery. Now, I'm running a Holly Terminator X, so I'm following what Holly says. Now, if you're using any other brand of ECU and they tell you to do it a different way, they are the manufacturers of that ECU, so they probably know best. But you can always follow whatever method you feel is the best. This is just the one that I use because Holly recommends it. Now that you know how to completely ground your car, it's time for power. Obviously, I mentioned the one power that goes from the battery to the ECU, and the next power is the one that attaches to your kill switch that you probably have. Now, kill switches are a completely different topic, but how you run your powers and grounds also depends on what kill switch you're running. So here I have a 4-prong kill switch. Obviously, this cable goes directly from the battery, and it plugs into this. This is A side. Both of these prongs on this side are A. Both of these prongs are B. So on the A side, I have power directly from the battery. From that same prong, I jump the power over to B, and then I run off of B the power to my firewall bulkhead that actually runs through this fuse first. On the same side of A, I have this fuse box that goes down here, and then this power actually runs up underneath the car on the outside. So to follow the one power that runs on the outside of the car, it goes from here and through the wheel well. From the wheel well, it has a bulkhead that actually goes up under here And off of that, I run both my starter and my alternator. You can also see the bulkhead that runs through the firewall. Now you may be asking, one, what is the point of the 4-prong kill switch? And two, why is a starter and alternator wired separately? So I thought what better way to explain it than to show you my old 2-prong kill switch. Obviously you would have your power from your battery to this bulkhead, and then this bulkhead would lead to all the other powers, the main power, the alternator, the starter, whatever. So if you essentially tried to kill the car, your alternator, although the power is now switched off and you only have your hot wire from your battery to this, your alternator is actually still generating power. So it's sending power right back through, and it's not going to shut off your car completely. Now with the 4-prong, you have your alternator and your starter wired separately so that when you shut off the power to the car, then the only hot wire that's left is the small short one that goes from the battery to the A side of the prong. And I have a test to show you the visual of it. So I've hooked up my grounds and the power to my kill switch here, and I have this sweet nifty tool that will light up if there is power to it. So we're gonna put it on the prong A side, and there is clear power to that. Then on to B side where we jump the power, obviously that is also hot. But if you go down to the bottom of A, it is not on. And the bottom of B, also not on. Now when I turn the switch on, that just opened it up. So this will now have power. So now the starter and alternator both have power. Obviously I don't have the alternator to show you, but I do have the power that is still hot that I can show you with the tester. So I'm now going to be turning the kill switch on. And then back off. Essentially the only hot wire that you have left is the short wire from the battery to prong A, and then the hop over that I did to prong B. Now some people don't like that method, and that's okay. A lot of people like to wire both prong A and B to the battery, but to reduce the amount of hot wires that I have in my car, we ended up going from prong A to prong B. So there you have it, the basics of wiring your powers and grounds in your car. Now I'm going to reiterate this again. This is just how I do it. This is how I have learned how to do it, and that is how the ugly stepchild is wired. So if you have a different way, you have a different way, and that is your opinion. I hope you guys learned something. I know I do every time I do one of these videos. So thank you guys for watching, and I will leave my socials down below, as well as my usual HEATWAVE link to get some discounted sunglasses. And if you guys have been following along on my other social medias, you guys would know that my new sponsor is Holly EFI, so I am super excited to be working with them. I have a lot of new exciting things for the ugly stepchild, and they are all going to be learning curves for me, and I cannot wait to document them with you guys so that you guys can do them in the future with your builds. As always, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you next week.